How's it going, everyone? Back with another league race video here. This is round 3 of MRL of our second season. We're here at Singapore. So getting started off here, just going right into the first qualifying lap. As you can see, I'm on mediums. Waited quite a bit into the session to run this first lap. Just thought I would allow some rubber to get laid down on the track and kind of assist with traction. So put in minimum fuel and decided to go out on the mediums for this one. In preparation for this race, what I usually do for most races for this league is I run some time trial just to get up to speed, and then I just go into the Grand Prix mode, set the AI to I think around like 106, 107, and use the Mercedes to practice up a bit. And throughout those practice sessions, I noticed that that the strategy to go onto the mediums to start the race, stretch those out, and then put on the hards until the end really assists when it comes to staying out of traffic. So I think everyone kind of understands that at this track and at Singapore, overtaking is difficult and there's not a lot of places to overtake. So track position and staying out of traffic and having some clean air is pretty crucial. So my strategy was to qualify on the mediums. I think there's maybe 3 or 4 other drivers who had that same strategy. So I wanted to see if I can capitalize on that and start on the mediums to be on that kind of preferred strategy to stay out of traffic. As I come to the end of my first qualifying lap here, I think I connected it all together pretty well. There's just so much less grip than the softs, but as you can see, that puts me P4. So not too bad there. I did a 1:35.9, which I was pretty happy with. Just moving on to the next clip here. This is actually my second qualifying round. You can see I waited until about 12 or 13 seconds left in the session to go for it. So really trying to maximize the amount of rubber that's been laid down on the track. And again, stayed on the same set of mediums, but just went in with as low fuel as possible. So going through these few turns here and down onto the kind of back straight, I guess you can call it, I'm up just under 10th I guess, and I was feeling pretty good about it. But you can see I've already dropped to P6. So I really wanted to do a lot better on this lap than I had on the previous one, so that I can try and jump a few positions, maybe get onto that second row. I know one thing with this track, and I kind of said it right before the race started, as you'll be able to see a little bit later, that I hate turn 1 here. I always think that there's issues in turn 1, especially if you're starting on the inside. There's really no room, and everyone kind of just turns right into you. But that was kind of a problem for later on in the race. So I just want to focus on getting this lap completed. I lost a little bit of time in that second sector, but I'm able to make up a bunch of time here, kind of starting the third sector, but come out a little bit wide and I lose a bit. So I actually end up just abandoning this lap because I don't want to wear out the mediums more than I already have. And since I was going to be starting on it, I had only ran that one push lap, which was my first qualifying lap, so didn't want to put any more wear onto the tires and just have as much grip going into the race. Just looking at the leaderboards here, you can see I finished P6, which isn't horrible starting on the mediums, but you can just see T-Ball. I think this is third pole in the row, just leading the front. So he is very fast over one lap and can sustain it for sure. So 5 red lights go out. Going into turn 1 here, and like I was kind of saying earlier, turn 1's a mess, so I kind of brake a little bit later, try to avoid Chuckmaster, and I just get hit from behind, and then I actually get sandwiched in between 2 cars. You can see I'm trying to get out. I have no idea what's going on, and I get a few time penalties, so obviously not a good start to the race, and quite a bit of a mess, as you could see. So safety car immediately comes out. Nobody had DNF'd at this point. So I just had to make a decision of whether I wanted to go to the pits or not. I didn't think I was going to get to the pits. I was going to just stay on the medium, see if I can gain some track position. Just speeding it up here. But yeah, not an ideal start to the race. I never did like the first turn of Singapore, and especially at the start of the race, because it catches a lot of people out and there's usually an incident. But you can see here actually I just lose concentration, and um, I just miss my braking point and hit the wall. So I actually get a tiny bit of damage here, which is super embarrassing. I was pretty pissed off with myself here, and I get a yellow front wing. So it made my decision pretty easy, from not pitting at all to definitely pitting. So just going back to the pits here, kind of limping back. I'm last in the race, so definitely not the start I was looking for in this race. And you can see by that pit lane kind of prompt there, I have, I guess, 10 seconds of time penalties that I'll have to serve. I serve the first 5 here, and the other one kind of stays on. So I put on the mediums again and go out with a new front wing, hoping to gain a few more positions. Again, not an ideal start, and not the way I want to be starting a race. As we skip to the restart of the race here, I'm in P15, just sitting behind Esand and Gibbsy. Another thing to point out here, like, I think in the last few videos and last few races, I really harped on and really focused on keeping it as clean as I can, and being patient when it comes to overtakes, and staying committed to the game plan. But I don't know what it was, but I'm pretty sure I just got away from it this race, and you can tell by the result it really didn't work out for me. Continuing on to later in lap 4, I've been sat behind Esand, just trying to gain positions, and you can see there's just a huge queue of cars kind of ahead of us, and I felt like I had good pace, and I knew I could make up some positions as long as I kept it clean. There's a little budge there, and I try to go up the right here, and I make it stick. So that's one position done, and I should be able to continue on with this as long as I don't get any damage. But after that pass on Esand, now next up was Gibbsy, and I was, like I said before, I had some good pace now that I had a fresh set of mediums on and a new front wing. So I throw on the overtake here. Doesn't look like he's going to fight it all that hard. I go to the inside and just outbrake him a little bit. I go purple in that first sector, and I'm able to give him enough room on the outside and make the overtake stick. Yeah, so at this point I was feeling really good. I just come up to the back of my teammate here, Rift. Really kind of him to kind of let me by here on the next corner, which was good. No team orders in this team. He was just kind enough to let me by there. So that was nice. DRS is enabled here, and I put in a pretty quick lap. So I'm starting to pick up some momentum, and I'm feeling pretty good about myself. I think at this point, even though I had that incident at the start of the race, I think I got onto the right tire, and I think with these overtakes and just staying clean, I would be able to get onto the hards and go to the end of the race. So that was my plan there. I get a little bit close to Jim Just Raged and almost lose my wing, but I'm able to kind of try and go around the outside here, but kind of squeezes me, so I lose out on that. Get the DRS on him, and now I'm just trying to stay to the back of him. But Caminator and Jim Just Raged, they have quite good pace here, so I was struggling, and I knew that if I wanted to make up some positions, I had to go for it. There, I kind of just brake late, and yeah, it's honestly just really bad driving by me. I wasn't being all that cautious, and I definitely wasn't as focused as I probably should have been. I feel like at Singapore, if you're not focused for pretty much the whole race, incidents are bound to happen when you're on a street circuit like this that's closed off, and there I get my first warning. So I'm pushing it pretty hard to keep up with these guys and try and get an overtake done, but it gets to a point where you kind of lose sight of the game plan, and it does more harm than good. So just continuing on with the progress of the race here on lap 7, I try to set up this corner to get a good exit, but Jim Just Rage has a better exit than I do and gets past Daffy's. So I have quite a bit of work to do now that Jim got ahead of Daffy, and now it's a matter of seeing how quickly I can get back onto his gearbox and start putting on the hunt again. But I think here I get a pretty good exit and I get right up to the back of Daffy, and I'm not too sure if he just let me go by or just, I don't know if something happened to him, but if he did let me go by, thank you, Daffy. That was a lot of help. Now just fast forwarding a bit to lap 9 here. I did get back onto the backs of Caminator and Jim Just Raged, and yeah, I was just trying to stay focused on setting up these turns and really getting good exits so that I can get by them. But I feel like I was getting frustrated, and as I said kind of earlier, I wasn't really sticking to the game plan of staying patient and consistent with it. So Jim Just Race goes out a little bit wide, and I thought this was a good opportunity to get even closer up there, and his red light was blinking. So running pretty low on ERS as well, so I really just had to be patient and wait for either that next long straight or wait for them to make another mistake. But you'll see as we go through this kind of bridge section here, I hook it up all pretty well and I'm able to stay with them. But I found kind of going into, I think, the end of the Sector 2, kind of beginning of Sector 3, this is where I struggled the most, and I don't know if it was me just not being able to get the braking points right, or just not really paying attention. And you'll be able to see here, I get the braking point done, and I just absolutely ram into the back of them and destroy my front wing on the right hand side, and this really put a damper on the progress that I had made. So I obviously had to pit. So I obviously limped back to the pits, and I think now I actually put on the hard tires and try to go to the end of the race. So it was just one thing after another with this race. I think T-Ball mentioned it in the chat when we were talking to each other. He said, hey, it's just going to be one of those races, and he definitely got that right. I have to serve another 5-second time penalty in the pits that I think I had gotten on that first lap incident. So again, definitely one of those races that you kind of just want to forget about, but had to show it to you guys regardless, whether they're good or bad. So moving on to lap 15 here, I think I had pit on lap 10, and there was a pretty sizable gap between me and the next person. So these 5 laps were just about me really catching up to the pack. I come up to behind Daffy, and you can see Chuckmaster is right on me, and he's on the faster tire too, and that faster tire combined with him just having more raw pace than me, it kind of makes for a sitting duck on my end. So I'm doing my best to kind of stay ahead of him here, but with the looming straight coming on, and me not being in Daffy's DRS, I actually just missed it. Chuckmaster was going to make quick work of me, so I don't fight it or anything like that. Kind of just let him go by. I don't need to lose any more time than I already have. But yeah, I guess another disappointing aspect of the race, that I just couldn't really keep it together for an extended period of time to stay ahead and make up those positions. Skipping ahead around 2-3 laps here, onto lap 19. Chuckmaster is now several seconds ahead of us. I think it says almost 6 seconds. I'm still behind Daffy here, and he actually had really good pace on the tires he had on with those hards. I think they were newer than the tires that I had, but at this point his red light was flashing. He was out of ERS, so I was able to get by with the assist of DRS and ERS to kind of gain a position there. So I was hoping I didn't get into another incident where I'd have to potentially get by Daffy again, but I guess that's just where I had put myself at this point in time. Moving up to lap 21 here, Gibbsy had just pit, and he was actually behind me for the entirety of the last, I guess, couple laps, and with those new mediums I was pretty easy to get by. So again, I don't fight it, I kind of let him go by, and I get my second warning there. So one more and I get that 3-second time penalty, which in the first couple races I did a really good job of staying away from, but I definitely didn't do that this race. Again, it was a matter of me not staying with the game plan and really not being focused for the entire race, and that first lap incident really put me off. So yeah, this was a difficult video to make, or was kind of putting it off just because I knew how crappy of a race it was, but I think it's definitely a learning opportunity for myself, and I'm able to kind of learn from it and come back stronger for next race, which I believe is at France. So got to put in the practice and really stick to the game plan there, so that I can get a good result and come back on this one. So I guess just staying on board for this last maybe 2 laps. You can see Chuckmaster, he had pit again for softs, and I think they had been degrading by this point, and he's trying to get by, but I really did all that I could to defend, and I think I actually do a pretty good job. I definitely use most of my ERS to keep him behind, but I'm able to defend pretty well and get some good exits on a few of these corners in order to keep him behind. He tries to go a little bit wider there to get a better exit, but I actually don't get a bad one myself, and actually went green in that first sector, so there's definitely life in the tires, and I had the ability to keep him behind. So it was really just a matter of really seeing where he was and really trying to close off any opportunity that he had. Like I've said, I think many times before in this series, and even last year in our first season, Chuckmaster has a ton of pace. He was always towards the front of the grid on most races, and it wasn't different here. He was really pressing, and I knew on this last lap I had to do what I can to keep him behind. With that being said, I'll just keep this on board for the remaining of the lap, and I guess to the end of the race, just to see a full lap, I guess. Coming around the last few corners here, I was able to stay ahead of Chuckmaster. There just wasn't really a point where he could get by, and I was able to really close off any attempt. So at the end of the race, I finished P9. I think I secured, 2 points in the championship. So like I said, not the best drive ever. Pretty disappointing race for me, but definitely a learning experience, and one to forget about a little bit later. Drix with the win. Congratulations to him. He did a great race. Another honorable mention to my teammate from last year, White Colombian, had a great race and got 6th. So congrats to him. We'll see you guys on the next one. Like I said earlier, we're in France. Have a good one.